The First Rejection, Cha Eun-woo's audition failure, and his road to reinvention. Rejection is a word that many aspiring artists dread. It can crush dreams, shatter confidence, and convince even the most passionate individuals to walk away from their goals. But for some, rejection becomes fuel. It shapes resilience, sharpens ambition, and ignites a transformation that leads to greatness. This was the case for Cha Eun-woo, the idol actor who is now celebrated globally for his looks, talent, and versatility. Few know that before becoming the face genius and household name, Eun-woo faced a devastating rejection at his very first audition. Instead of letting that moment define him, he chose to reinvent himself, emerging stronger, wiser, and hungrier for success. In this article, we'll trace the story of Eun-woo's first rejection, the emotions that followed, the turning point that reshaped his outlook, and the journey of reinvention that turned him into the star the world knows today. From a young age, Eun-woo carried dreams bigger than most. Known for his sharp features, quiet charisma, and a disciplined work ethic, he wasn't just another boy with ambitions. He had the makings of someone special. But when he first decided to step into the entertainment world, he was no different from thousands of hopefuls who lined up for auditions, hearts pounding with anticipation. That first audition was supposed to be his gateway into the industry. Eun-woo had prepared meticulously, rehearsing lines, refining his voice, and practicing his expressions. He arrived with high hopes and an innocent belief that effort alone would guarantee results. But reality often tells a different story. The judges weren't impressed. His nervousness seeped into his performance. His voice cracked once, his movements appeared stiff, and his inexperience became glaringly obvious. The verdict was swift and final. He didn't make it through. For Eun-woo, the rejection was a heavy blow. To a young dreamer, hearing no can feel like the world collapsing. The question that haunted him was simple yet piercing. Am I really cut out for this? The days that followed weren't easy. Rejection, especially the first one, has a way of magnifying self-doubt. Eun-woo found himself battling a storm of emotions, embarrassment, frustration, and even shame. He didn't want to face his family, fearing they would think his dreams were foolish. Friends who asked about the audition received vague, half-hearted responses. In interviews years later, Eun-woo has hinted that self-doubt was one of his greatest hurdles early on. He wasn't sure if he could measure up to the towering expectations of the industry, where talent was abundant and competition cutthroat. The entertainment world didn't pause for someone licking their wounds. It was a machine that only moved forward, with or without him. This was the first crossroad of his life. Walk away or rise above. Instead of abandoning his dreams, Eun-woo made a decision that would change everything. He refused to let his first rejection be his last story. He recognized that if effort wasn't enough the first time, then he needed more than effort. He needed strategy, training, and self-awareness. Eun-woo started analyzing himself critically. He watched recordings of performances, pinpointed his weak spots, and sought feedback. He began training harder than ever before, focusing on areas that had tripped him up in the audition room. Voice training. He worked tirelessly to strengthen his vocals, building stamina and control to ensure nerves wouldn't derail him again. Acting practice. He practiced facial expressions and emotional delivery, learning to convey sincerity rather than stiffness. Confidence building. Knowing that nerve had betrayed him, he threw himself into situations that forced him out of his comfort zone, whether it was speaking in public, performing for small groups, or facing mirrors for hours to master his presence. The key wasn't perfection. It was persistence. Every day, Eun-woo worked on becoming a better version of himself. Months later, another audition came his way. But this time, Eun-woo wasn't the same boy who had walked nervously into that first room. He was sharper, calmer, and more prepared. He had rebuilt himself brick by brick. Where he had once stumbled, he now stood steady. His voice carried conviction. His movements looked natural. And most importantly, his confidence radiated. The judges could sense his growth. Though the entertainment industry never guarantees fairness, there was no denying the transformation before them. Eun-woo wasn't perfect yet, but he was undeniably on the right path. This second chance didn't just give him a place in the industry. It validated the grueling reinvention he had undergone. The story of Eun-woo's rejection and reinvention is not just about an aspiring star. It's about universal truths. Failure is feedback. His first rejection was not a verdict on his worth, but a mirror reflecting where he needed to improve. Resilience builds character. Walking away would have been easy. Reinventing himself required courage, discipline, and humility. Growth requires discomfort. He stepped outside his comfort zone, confronting his insecurities rather than avoiding them. Success is reinvention, not perfection. His comeback wasn't about becoming flawless, but about showing undeniable growth. These lessons continue to echo in his career today. Today, Cha Eun-woo is admired as one of South Korea's most promising and versatile entertainers. From his role in dramas like True Beauty and rookie historian Gu Hae-ryung to his performances as part of ASDRO, he has shown that his talent goes far beyond his visuals. But beneath the glitz and global recognition lies the story of a boy who once failed miserably at his very first audition. That rejection was a crucible that shaped his resilience. Without it, he may never have developed the discipline and grit that set him apart. In a way, rejection didn't close a door. It opened the right one. Eun-woo's journey resonates because it mirrors the path of countless dreamers. Whether in entertainment, business, academics, or personal pursuits, everyone faces rejection. The difference lies in the response. Some give up, but others, like Eun-woo, choose reinvention. His story reminds us that rejection is not the opposite of success. It's part of it. Success often wears a disguise of failure, daring us to uncover its true form through perseverance. Even as a global star, Eun-woo's story of rejection continues to inspire. He remains humble, often crediting hard work, persistence, and the lessons from his failures as a foundation of his achievements. And for fans and aspiring artists alike, his journey is proof that the road to greatness is paved not with constant victories, but with the ability to rise from defeat. What began with a single rejection became the defining chapter of a success story still being written. Cha Eun-woo's first rejection could have ended his dream before it even began, but instead, it became the catalyst for reinvention. Through relentless effort, humility, and determination, he turned failure into fuel. Today, he stands as a testament that rejection is not the end of the road. It is often the beginning of something greater. His story is a reminder for every dreamer. When the world says no, it might just be preparing you to come back stronger, wiser, and ready for the yes that truly matters. Imagine a young Eun-woo stepping out of the audition room, his heart pounding not with excitement, but with the sting of disappointment. The judges' neutral expression still haunted him. Their polite but firm dismissal replayed in his head like a broken record. He walked home slowly, gripping the strap of his backpack tighter than usual. Each step seemed heavier, as though rejection itself clung to his shoes. Around him, Seoul carried on as if nothing had happened. Cars honked. People rushed to catch buses. Neon lights flickered. But to him, the world felt dimmer. That night, alone in his room, Eun-woo sat by his desk replaying every moment of the audition, his voice trembling, his posture too stiff, the crack in his song, the silence that followed. A voice inside whispered, "Maybe this isn't for you." But another voice, quieter yet stubborn, answered back, "Or maybe this is just the beginning." While others might let rejection silence their dreams, Eun-woo chose silence for a different reason: discipline. In the month that followed, he entered a self-imposed training routine. The world saw little of him, but behind closed doors, he was relentless. Mornings began with vocal exercises, stretching his range until he could hit notes cleanly without cracking. He recorded himself and listened back, wincing at imperfections but determined to improve. Afternoons were devoted to acting practice. He stood in front of the mirror, rehearsing lines from dramas, experimenting with emotions, learning to make his eyes tell a story even before his lips moved. Evenings turned into confidence drills. He performed in front of a small circle of friends, forcing himself to endure their giggles, stares, and awkward silences. The goal wasn't applause. It was to make fear itself lose its grip on him. Every day was a quiet battle, fought not against others, but against his own insecurities. One evening, after weeks of training, Eun-woo stood in front of his mirror and performed a monologue from a drama script. At first, he stumbled over the words. His expression looked forced. He sighed in frustration, about to give up for the night. But then, something shifted. He looked into his own reflection and, for the first time, stopped seeing a boy who had failed. Instead, he saw someone who refused to quit. He delivered the monologue again, this time raw, unfiltered, his voice breaking not from nerves but from real emotion. By the time he finished, his eyes were wet, and he realized he had tapped into something deeper: authenticity. That night became his turning point. From then on, he wasn't just practicing lines or songs. He was training to reveal himself. What many don't realize is that reinvention doesn't happen in one dramatic moment. It happens through 1,000 small victories. For Unwoo, these victories stacked up slowly but surely. The day he sang a full song without his voice trembling. The moment his acting teacher nodded with genuine approval. The performance in front of friends where, instead of awkward silence, he received an unexpected round of claps. These milestones built a staircase out of rejection, one step at a time. Each victory whispered, "You're getting closer." Facing the second audition. By the time his second audition arrived, Unwoo was no longer the same boy who had stumbled through the first. He walked into the room taller, calmer, and more grounded. The judges asked him to sing. He took a deep breath, remembering the countless mornings spent rehearsing scales, and delivered the song with a voice steady as steel yet warm as velvet. When they handed him a script, he recalled his mirror scene training. Instead of acting out the words, he lived them. His eyes carried the emotion. His pauses were natural. He no longer performed for approval. He performed because he had something to express. When he finished, there was a beat of silence. But this time, it wasn't awkward. It was respect. For the first time, Unwoo felt that he belonged in the room. The rejection and reinvention shaped him in ways success alone never could. He learned humility. Failure taught him that raw talent isn't enough. Discipline is what sustains dreams. He gained resilience. Having fallen once, he knew how to rise, making future challenges less daunting. He found authenticity. Instead of hiding behind polished masks, he discovered the power of honesty in performance. These qualities later defined his acting roles and his career in music. Whether portraying a prince in Rookie historian Gu Haryung or a high school heartthrob in True Beauty, Unwoo's performances carried depth because he once knew what it felt like to struggle. Even now, at the height of his career, Unwoo often looks back at that first audition, not with bitterness, but with gratitude. Without that rejection, he might never have discovered his resilience. Without that painful no, he might never have found the courage to reinvent himself. The echo of rejection remains in his heart, not as a scar, but as a reminder of where he started. Cha Eun-woo's journey teaches us a profound truth. The first rejection doesn't define you, it refines you. The sting of failure can either break a dream or burn it into something stronger. Eun-woo chose the latter. Today, fans across the globe see his polished performances, his angelic visuals, and his calm presence. But behind all that lies the story of a boy who once walked home with heavy steps after hearing no, and who later returned to prove that rejection was not the end of his story, but the beginning. His reinvention is not just a tale of a K-drama star. It's a universal lesson. When life tells you no, don't stop listening, because sometimes it's just preparing you for the yes that will change everything.